Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. So for today I'm going to be comparing the old Strawberry Moon palette to the new Strawberry Moon palette from Ensley Reign Cosmetics. So if you want to see what the difference is, then please stick around for today's video and make sure you are subscribed before leaving today, and let's get into it. I have had the new Strawberry Moon palette now for over a week. I've been trying to figure out how I wanted to go about creating this video. So I took the time to really test out this palette, get to know the formula, the different shades, the differences between each palette. And now I'm ready to come on here, show you some swatches. This is going to be a swatch party. I'm also going to include a tutorial and let you know what shades I use. I did a tutorial using only the new shades. So if you wanted to see like just the new shades in action, I figured that would be beneficial. But first things first, I want to show you Strawberry Moon up close and personal. This is the brand spanking new one. I love the packaging. I think it is absolutely beautiful. It is right on par with the original as far as like the exterior packaging. They have also included a mirror as well, which that was not included in the first one. So I'm so thankful, because y'all know I love my mirrors in my palettes. Also, as far as like the shades on the inside, they do have a few new shades which we will go over in swatching. I will let you know all the new shades, what the difference is, all of the things. Also, as far as like the pan size, the original was round and this one has square pans. So if you're curious, this will match the other palettes in the Ensley Reign collection. I love that all of them are going to be square and aesthetically pleasing. And the main thing for me personally, these are magnetic pans, so you can actually move your shades around, recreate your own color story, mix and match your palette. So I love that they added magnetic pans to give us that extra creativity if we wish to rearrange our palettes. And I also wanted to include some close-ups of both of the palettes in different lighting so you can kind of see them side by side, what the differences are with your own eyes before I kind of go into all the little details. I also want to include swatches of the new palette so you can see just how beautiful everything kind of comes together once it's all swatched out. Because wow, a Strawberry Moon, like the original, knocked my socks off, but this new one, it's just so beautiful. So now let's go ahead and zoom in and let's talk about Strawberry Moon. First things first, the new palette has 21 shades in it, whereas the original, this one only has 18, so we are getting 3 more additional shades in the palette. Now, before we start the swatches, I want to go over row by row so you can kind of know what's going on. As far as the first row, which I call like the beautiful blue-green row, they have actually dropped a shimmer, so we have a one less blue shimmer, and the shade Abundance, this really dark blue, that is no longer in this palette right here. As far as mattes go, in the top row, which I call the blue row, we have an additional shade called Lagoon, which is more of like a mid-tone blue. So you have your light green, your mid-tone blue-green, and then your darker blue. So I think that was really nice, especially if you're a blue lover. You're going to absolutely love that addition because it is so beneficial when you're blending and you're trying to go from really light to really deep. It's perfect. So that's kind of like the changes as far as the blues go, and I love it because the original was a little bit repetitive, especially with the shimmers. Some of them were very similar, and in swatches I'll show you what shades are the same. Now, as far as the middle row, the only changes that I saw, obviously the shade Poppy, they added this beautiful yellow, and I just live for this shade. Every single look I've created with this palette, I go into this one. I use this as like transition. I also use it to blend out the other shades because this is a very colorful palette. It's like my safe shade for me. Like, it's like my go-to, you know what I'm saying? I feel very comfortable and confident when I wear that yellow. And as far as the other shades in this row, the only one that I noticed was a little bit different. This is the shade Rose Moon. This one has holographic sparkles, whereas the original Rose Moon, is that what it's called? Yeah, that shade did not have holographic sparkles, which you'll see in the swatches, but I did want to note that. So this row, the only change is the yellow, and then the shade has an additional like hollow effect, and I love it. Now, as far as the last row right here, we do have some additional mattes that were added. So Snapdragon, this is a newer pinky coral shade. Sorry, my camera died if it just cut me off. But this is the additional matte that they added right here. I don't want to butcher the name of it, but as far as I could tell, this is the new one on the bottom row. So not too much of a change as far as like the palettes go, but just enough tweaks to really make this everything that it could be. Iconic and beautiful, and just, it's perfect. It is absolutely perfect. I love all the changes that they have made. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to do the swatch party. After I do my swatches, that's whenever I'll get into the look, and then I'll wrap up my thoughts on the new palette. Here we have the new palette, and then here's the original. Do you see what I mean? It's just like a touch more intense. Oh my goodness, definitely. I'm trying to swatch live the shades that I feel are the new additions or just something a little different. I wanted to go ahead and turn the light on as well so you could kind of see those shifts before moving on to the other new shade. Okay, so this is the new matte. This is Lagoon. I may have a little bit of shimmer, just ignore that. I have nothing to compare this to, but it's so pretty. It's like that Tiffany blue almost. I just love it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I went ahead and swatched the other two blues in the top row so you could see just how necessary this new change is, because look how beautiful that gradient is and how lovely it's going to help blending. Now I'm going to swatch the old. I wanted to go ahead and swatch those shades side by side so you could just see there's no difference in those mattes. Here are the blues and the green in the top row so you could see these. Now I'm going to add the OG shades and turn down the brightness. Okay, so let's not forget that the new palette, it's the first swatch. So this one, and this shade, and then the old palette, it's right here, here, and here. And I kind of blended it into the new one just ever so slightly so you could see them almost touching, that they are the same shade. Now the blue that you're not going to be getting in the new palette, it's right here. So you're going to be missing this really dark, deep blue. So this one is not going to be in the new palette. Here they are under low lighting. Now we'll move on to the second row. So as far as new shades, this is the only new shade in the second row, and that is Poppy, that beautiful yellow matte. Now let's go ahead and move on to the shimmers. Okay, so here we have the second row swatched out. I'm going to let you know which one is the new palette just in case you forgot. This is the new palette, this is the new palette, new, 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 and new. Now I'm going to turn down the brightness. Here we have it under low lighting. Look at the sparkles. I wouldn't say there's too much of differences with these shades other than I would just say the formulation overall is better, updated. Now the main shadow that I wanted to point out that is different, it is right here, which is Rose Moon, and you can see the newer palette has holographic sparkles in there. So that is definitely the major update with this row in my opinion. So a yellow matte and then this beautiful holographic goodness right here. But other than that, that's pretty much the only differences that I saw. I wanted to go ahead and get this mirror so you could possibly see the shifts better. But let me turn the brightness up so you could see it just a touch better. I don't know if that helped or not. Now that you have seen the swatches, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the last row in the palette. Here are the only two new mattes in the bottom row. Very pretty, and I love this addition right here. It's just perfect. Okay, so here are the mattes in the last row. This is the new palette. New, 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 and new. I'm sorry to be repetitive. I just want to make sure you see the new versus the old. And also, these are the new mattes. I just put them over here because there's nothing to compare. And then keep in mind, the old palette had a blue in the bottom row, but this is actually now in the top. So I just wanted to also note that. But there you have all the comparisons for the bottom row. I wanted to go ahead and swatch the new additions all together. So these are the new additions to the new palette right here as far as mattes go. And then the shimmer, it's an existing shimmer, but this one does have holographic sparkles. So I also wanted to include that one. But these are the new additions to the updated Strawberry Moon. Just love that touch. I love that they added the hollows. How beautiful. Before we jump into the tutorial, I wanted to pop up a picture so you can see one of the shades I created using this palette. I did not take pictures of the other ones, but I absolutely love how this one turned out. I actually had time this day. I almost took my makeup off and I was like, oh my word, I almost forgot. I had my makeup on like over 16 hours this day. It was a long day, but I'm so glad I got this picture because I love the fieriness of these beautiful shades in this palette. They just get me going. So now that you've seen that picture, I want to go ahead and let's jump into the tutorial of the new shades in the palette. First things first, I wanted to utilize all of the new matte shades just to make sure that they would blend well with one another. It's like the same Ensley Reign quality that I know and love, and yes, these mattes blended to perfection. Now, I don't go ham on mattes. I'm very light. I'm not so, like, this is color. Color intimidates me, but honestly, I had no problems with the mattes. I think they looked so pretty. And as far as the shimmers go, I was so beyond excited to dive into Rose Moon with the new holographic sparkles in there. The quality is perfection. The shimmers in this palette honestly blew me away. I love how the look turned out. So as far as like the new shades in the palette, they just really surprised me and made this palette everything that I wanted it to be and more. So I'm going to zoom you out and let me kind of go over and wrap up my thoughts on the new palette. Before we jump into my final thoughts on this palette, I wanted to show you this look up close and personal. I went in with Lunar Glow all over the lid. It's my favorite, one of my favorite shades in the palette, and I went in with the shade Poppy, that yellow matte. I love that shade so much, and I just mixed it with some of the blues in the palette, and I love how it came out a little beachy. And now I'm going to turn down the brightness. This is why I love Ensley Reign. They're so shifty. Let me swatch the shade Sunkissed so you can kind of see. It's like the lightest shade in the palette, but holy moly, like all the shades just make a statement. Like, do you see how unique it is? Every shade in the palette is so special and beautiful. Anyways, guys, I just love it so much. All the shades just knocked my socks off. Let's go ahead and jump into my final thoughts on the updated Strawberry Moon. I think that it's awesome that they kept the packaging on par with the previous. I love the new updates. I love that they added a mirror. I love that the pans are magnetic. I love that they have square pans now to match their other palettes in their line. I think that is so beautiful. I love the new additions to this palette. Y'all have already seen the swatches. As far as mattes go, I think it really did added such a beautiful touch to the top row. I love the yellow on the bottom, and then this pinky peachy shade in the purple, stunning. And I also love that they added some holographic sparkles to Rose Moon. Those are the main differences that I saw. Yes, this does have the newer yummy Ensley Reign quality. At least that's what I found. Now, would I recommend this to you if you already have the old one? I would say skip it just because they're very similar. There are a few differences unless you're just like obsessed with Ensley Reign and you would like to have the newer updates with this palette. As far as like, I feel like if you love mixing and matching your palettes, then I would say go for it because these are magnetic. But if you don't really switch up your palettes and you don't mind not having a mirror, I would just say skip it because you already have a beautiful palette with very similar shades and a lovely quality as well. Now, would I have purchased this palette if it was not sent to me? Initially, I was going to completely skip it because I was like, you know what? You need to just use the Flower Moon and the Strawberry Moon palette that you have in your collection. Show it some love. And then I was like, I love Ensley Reign so much and I want that new formula. I could not help it. I wanted it. And then I was actually deciding, I was like, I'm going to get it. If it's still in stock, I'm going to get it, which they are open for pre-order. I'm not sure at the time I'm filming this, but I think that the pre-order is still open. And then about the time I realized, I was like, you know what? Do it. You're going to get it. I actually got this delivered and I was so excited. But I already ordered the Flower Moon palette. Once I started playing with this palette and I saw the updates, I was like, I want it. I want the new Flower Moon because I love that palette so much. Full transparency, I do have like in-store credit with Ensley Reign because I'm an affiliate, so just keep that in mind. I only had to pay for shipping, but let's say I didn't have the in-store credit, I would have still purchased it. So I just want to be upfront honest with you. Yeah, I would have got it. After trying this one, yeah, I was definitely going to get it. Maybe a little toxic, but I needed it in my life, and I cannot wait to get the Flower Moon because just by the way this one surprised me, I'm so excited to see it and compare for y'all if you would like me to do so. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful or entertaining. Let me know below. Do you have the OG Strawberry Moon, or are you wanting to pick up the new one? I would love to hear down below. Sorry if this video is all over the place. I just tried my hardest to really show you the comparisons, but that's going to do it for today's video. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you're doing well. I hope that you are healthy, happy, and safe. Stay beautiful. Bye, guys.